just a quick video tutorial to show you how to sew a quilt binding and finish it using a diagonal seam. Before you start your binding sewing, you need to measure out about 12 inches of space. I just use the printed ruler that is on my sewing machine bed, and I will mark a pin where I want to start my binding, and then I'm just going to mark the 12-inch where I want to finish. So you need a gap of about 12 inches. And then you can start sewing your binding. When you begin to sew, you need about a 10-inch tail. So again, I'm just going to measure 10 inches using the little tape on my machine. Whoever thought those would be actually very useful. And it doesn't have to be exact. If you're off an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch, that's not that big of a deal. You want the raw edge of the binding with the raw edge of the quilt top. And I'm just going to pull my pin and do a couple of back stitches just to give it a little extra strength. And then you want to sew your quilt binding on as usual. This is just a tutorial to show you how to finish it. Alright, now I want to finish up, and we're gonna, again, you want a 10-inch tail to finish with. Okay, so I'm going to measure out 10 inches, and I'm going to pin that right there and sew this on. Stop at the pin and pull it and give it a couple of back stitches for a little extra stability. Okay, this is pretty, I'm just going to use my foot to hold this down. Okay, it's an extra hand. You need to lay the piece that you started with, you need to lay it out flat and take your scissors and trim off just a little piece. It doesn't matter how wide, but you know, ½ inch or so, 5/8, it doesn't matter. So you're going to take that little bit you trimmed off and making it even with the edge that you just trimmed. You can use a little straight edge. Okay, now you're going to take the top piece, lay it right on top, and only trimming the top piece, not the bottom, not the piece you started with, just the piece that's on top. You're going to trim even. And if you're not comfortable with that, you can make yourself a little mark. I use a friction pen so that it'll iron away. You can use a water soluble, whatever you want. So again, you take the piece that you trimmed off the end of the bottom and you lay it even with the edge you just trimmed it from, lay the top piece over, and make a mark that is the exact length. It does not matter how wide your binding strip is. Even if it was 3 inches, it doesn't matter. Just, this is a 2.5 inch strip. And then you're going to trim on that mark you made. Okay, so we don't need these anymore. Now, take your binding piece that you started with, the one on the bottom, and lay it out flat. Okay? Right side up, lay it out flat. Take the top piece, open it up, and turn it toward you 180 degrees, one turn, so that it is, the back side is up, wrong side up. And you want to match these exactly on the corners, and take a pin and put it in there to anchor it there. And I like to take the top edge and line them up together perfectly. Okay. on the bottom, you want to line up these edges, top and right, perfectly. Okay. Now take your marker, wherever that bottom corner is, make a mark. And you want to use your straight edge. Try to lay this out flat. And wherever that mark is that you made, here's the mark, wherever the mark is, go to the corner, opposite corner, and draw a stitching line with your pen, okay? And if it makes it easier, you can pin this other side. Alright, now we're going to sew on this stitching line, corner to corner. Alright, if you're not sure, you can leave, before you trim, pull it out straight and make sure that it's nice and flat. Looks like it's going to work. Perfect, just like it always does. Trim to 1/4 of an inch. Finger press it, get it nice and flat, and it's ready to sew down. I start a couple of stitches before where I stopped before, back stitch if you like. On this part, I hold my hands, my thumb under, my fingers on top, and that prevents the bottom from being pulled through by the feed dogs faster than the top binding. If you get a little bubble there, don't worry about it, just kind of work it in. And there it is. It's perfect. There's your perfect diagonal seam. It fits. And it looks great on the back, just as good as it does on the front. That's it.